Hello and welcome to Goswick Lane. We are sitting with a guy you've never seen before. His name's Chris Wheatley. He's usually on the backside of everything. Like, he just fixes everything. He fixes everything that we mess up.
Or we don't know how to put together.
Or we don't know how to put together. Systems guy. He's involved in one of Brandon's businesses. Has helped us with a lot of our businesses. Welcome, C-Dub. Cue applause.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We're in East Texas right now. This is not where you're from, right?
It is not where I'm from. I'm originally from Lawrence, Kansas. So I don't know, what, about 8 hours, 10 hours from here, somewhere. Roughly. I don't really. I was kidnapped. I don't really know where I am right now.
Somebody else kidnapped him. We didn't.
Yep. So I'm in college town, Lawrence, Kansas. Grew up there. Graduated from school. Moved out to California. Got wise. Moved to Oregon.
How long were you in California?
I was there 2008, about 6 years.
Maybe you're not as smart as I thought you
were.
Well,
you know, I'm a slow learner. You know.
Welcome to the crowd. Sometimes, now we fit in again.
Yeah.
I can do stuff. It just takes me a while to get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was there about 6 years. Decided to go back to school for engineering. I was a theater and film guy.
Okay.
So I worked in that industry for a bit, doing everything from acting, directing, pyrotechnics, and special effects, all kinds of stuff. And got enough of that industry to realize that I did not want a career in theater and film. So then I went into finance. So I was working as a business budget analyst for USC, for a research center there. Okay. Decided to go back to school for engineering, moved up to Oregon, lived there for about 6 years, and started getting involved in the commercial building industry. So I go into large buildings and help them figure out ways to save energy, basically through their HVAC and lighting systems.
Okay,
and it was that experience that really took me into systems design and optimization, that sort of thing.
How long have you been doing that?
The systems work?
Yeah.
About 6 years.
Okay. Still enjoy it?
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite things. You know, finding opportunities. I think one of the reasons that I was so drawn to buildings specifically is because there are so many opportunities for efficiency, and every building is different. And I think small businesses and even larger businesses, but small businesses especially, are very much like that. Mm-hmm. They're unique. They have their own personality. They have their own challenges. It's like a puzzle that I get to solve, or I'll help business owners solve. That's what I really love about it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
A while back, Brandon and I were talking. We were trying to. So we always say this out loud. It's who, not how. I say rarely. Rarely do we enact that. We try to as much as possible, but it's like I have a problem getting to my wit's end, trying to create something and then being like, I can't do it. I've been working on this. I've spent 15, 20 hours working on this specific problem. I'm at the end of my rope and I'm telling Brandon about it. And he's like, we know a guy. I'm like, who? He's like, Chris Wheatley. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just wasted 20 hours of my life when Chris can literally do this thing in like an hour and a half. So recently, the story behind that is with our short-term rental management, there's a few programs that we use. There was one that we were using for cleaning turnovers, or not cleaning turnovers, turning over a property and getting it ready for the next guest. That program is called Turno, and if you're using that, great. We never could really make it really, really work for us. Part of the reason that we couldn't really make it work for us is because we had all our cleaners working internally for us, and Turno is kind of built for cleaners working externally. Just didn't seem like a great fit. I tried to build an Excel file or Excel sheet to manage all the money going out to the cleaners that we pay on an hourly rate. Had something that was functional, but not great. It wasn't functioning great. So reach out to Chris, and Chris, when you do something, feels like 15 minutes later,
it's like dog years in reverse.
Yeah. 15 minutes later, this incredible Excel sheet is built. And then from there, Chris is mentioning to us, like, we've got this program that we use for one of Brandon's other businesses that we could build this thing out specific to what you want. Talk a little bit about what that program is, how that works, what we've done so far, how we fixed the issues that we had originally.
Yeah. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, one of the challenges that a lot of small businesses have is that their operations are slightly unique. And so sometimes when you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, as it were, with a particular piece of software that's out there, you're trying to get it to a point where it's good enough to get you across the finish line. Right. That's one of the things I like about this platform called QuickBase, which is the software platform that we use in the other business, is that it is incredibly flexible. So it is essentially a database system with a UI on top of it, like a user interface on top of it. And it's often referred to as a low code, no code database because it's very easy for a variety of users to interact with it. And what I mean by that is that, there are elements of it that are literally drag and drop. You're relating tables to one another. So to compare it to the spreadsheet that you built, a table would be a sheet in that spreadsheet.
Okay.
And a row in that spreadsheet is a record. And a column in that spreadsheet is a field, so a piece of information that you're wanting to track. So if we're talking about STRs there, in a properties table of properties that you own, the record might be the house with a particular address and a zip code and a rate that's assigned to that rental and any number of bits of information that you're trying to track.
Right.
So the nice thing about QuickBase is that it allows you to relate all of these various sheets together and organize them in a way that makes sense and that's really easy to scale, and then allows you to build on a lot of functionality on top of that so that essentially you end up with a customized app that's kind of perfect for your particular application for your business.
That's cool. Okay, so I could explain exactly what we have so far.
Sure.
But I feel like you could explain it better. So explain what we have so far and why you've built it the way that you built it. And then I might ask you questions about some further expansion on some more things that we can do that increase our functionality. Essentially, we're building our own management company to some degree and how we do that efficiently.
One of the cool things I think about this application that we built is that...
He says he's so nice.
Yeah. I need to add a little sidebar here.
Oh, sorry. You ain't sitting over there.
No, I was
like
just thinking. So I've seen the back end of the software.
Yeah.
And he's not really giving himself enough credit.
It's a lot harder than he's making it sound.
Yes. Now, I do understand the no code thing. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
When we decided to bring this into our business, because we had discussed it for a while, and it finally came to the point because I'd seen him do so much, and he always says, this is pretty simple, just like this. And I'm like, Chris, in your brain it is.
Sure. Yeah.
But
the way
it
his
is
brain
not
works.
in my brain.
Yeah.
So if we're going to commit to this, are you ready to commit to this? Because you know how this is all going to work together. And I'm going to basically be going, this is what we want to do. Can you make this happen?
Do this? Yeah.
And so that is what I do. I can vouch for that. It's like if you have somebody who knows how to make it hum, it'll do whatever the heck you want it to do.
On a simple scale that people might understand, like no code or low code, you built a website 30 years ago using HTML or C++, or even like more recently WordPress. It's still a language. And then going from that to building one on Wix or Squarespace.
Yeah,
I
think that's a really good comparison,
Okay.
actually. Yeah, because if you're working in Wix or Squarespace or Webflow or any of the template systems that are out there, you can start with a template, and that's available in QuickBase. There are any number of sort of community published applications that are out there that you can start from. And then even the manipulation of that template itself is very much kind of a drag and drop. You just need to know where things live
Okay.
in order to change it is kind of a good starting place. There's a lot of more advanced stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the power of QuickBase is that it's approachable, but then it can go deep into, you can write, your own custom HTML, JavaScript, CSS to do some really customized thing. They have a whole back end called Pipelines that they added to the platform a number of 2 or 3 years ago that allows for automations and advanced notifications and native integration with third-party applications like Google, as an example, with Gmail or Salesforce or QuickBooks, or there's a host of probably 40 or 50 channels that they have available.
Okay.
And then you can also just, if somebody else has a published API, you can plug in with that as well.
So what were the challenges that we had that led us to creating this program in QuickBase?
Yeah, so the premise itself, I think, was pretty straightforward. You have properties that you're managing. You need to assign cleaners to those, to turn over those properties. They have various pay rates that are associated with them. And you want to, track their hours, track their pay, and then distribute those payments. That's pretty straightforward. I mean, a lot of small businesses, I think, can relate to that. Yeah, we have employees and we want to pay them. We want to track their time. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think one of the unique aspects of the app that we built was there are a few different entities that have a hand in those payments.
Yep.
A few different businesses, a few different entities that own these properties but share a pool of cleaners.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do they need to dole out the payments for those particular services, so if a cleaner goes to their property, they need to pay for that property. There's also an overall management structure of all those cleaners that needs to be shared equally amongst those entities, whether or not they had cleaning services in that particular pay period.
What he's saying is business 1 owns 4 doors, business 2 owns 3 doors, business 3 owns 1 door. Sharing those responsibilities equally without having to, we're not writing anything down. We're just saying this cleaner cleaned at this place and it's shared and it goes to that place. And then this, because management cannot be tracked per minute, it's just too difficult. This management person who answers all the messages and deals with the guest had 7 hours total across 7 properties. So they're equally shared.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think another aspect is the shift in pay. So in other words, there's folks who are doing cleaning work and they're doing maintenance work. And there are 2 different pay rates for that. So being able to kind of track that appropriately.
Yeah.
And also the training phase as well. So, folks are coming in and learning, what the standard approach is and processes for the various properties and, tracking those hours and paying them a little bit differently. So it's just, I think an out of the box application that would be able to handle one company, one set of employees and tracking time cards, that's not necessarily unique, but this is more of a, I don't know, I'd almost describe it as like a co-op approach to SCRs, where you're able to involve any number of entities actually. So you could, in theory, you could scale this up to have 50 entities with 200 properties and a pool of 100 cleaners or in a particular area. And I think one of the next components that we're going to add, that at least we've talked about adding, is inventory and being able to track that as well and bill it appropriately across the various entities as well.
That's right, because right now it's we're just kind of fumbling through inventory of this one pays for this one pays for this. We have a storage unit where we do have overflow inventory that is used for every property. And so, ideally, if we could have an inventory level from that, what's in that unit, and then when it's allocated to door number 2, then it automatically gets charged to door number 2.
Owned by a business too. And then you're tracking it from there. One thing that I've really recognized, there's a guy that we worked with for a while named Ari Mizell, who emphasizes optimization, automation, and outsourcing. Here's a conversation we've had many times that as a business owner, anybody listening that's a business owner is going to be able to relate to this. We always want to automate, but you can't automate exceptionally well until you optimize. And that requires knowing what you want to accomplish so that you can create the automation that you want to follow it.
Sometimes you don't know what you want to accomplish
till you start.
Yeah, experience.
That's right. So if you can have somebody that can help you think through what do you really want to be able to automate and reverse engineer backwards to do that, you have to have this optimized first. It's very, very helpful.
The trap that most small business owners get in, and I've been in this trap so many times, is that, yes, I could sit down and learn how to use QuickBase. Not as efficiently as you do, but I could learn it. It may take me 30, 40 hours just to have a general understanding of how to operate this thing. And then I could do it and make the modifications and run it. But you can't do everything. And if you feel like you have to do everything, you're trapped. You're not running the business is running you. And so all these things, who, not how, figuring out systems and processes, having good operators in place is super important. Another thing I was going to ask you about is we don't have a specific calendar to notify. The way that we're notifying our cleaners is that our management people are sending out, here's the cleans we have this week. Is there a way to incorporate a calendar into QuickBase where we can send, he's already smiling.
Before.
Yeah, you know the question. Go ahead.
Yes.
So here's my next question, because we've been working together.
How deep can it go?
How deep do you want it to go?
Can we attach it to Hospitable, which is our calendar that we have already for our bookings? It's our channel manager.
Okay.
Can we attach it there and just somehow bring it into our own QuickBase system where the automated email or text goes out and says, this is what we have available. And then our cleaners can select, I got this one, and this one.
Claim it.
And then our manager is able to see those notifications, all of them from beginning to end.
Definitely yes, on the kind of board posting of available jobs, and then cleaners can claim them, and you can have notifications that go both ways. Interacting with Hospitable is really just a matter of whether or not it has a published API that we can interact with.
So either way, we can make it work.
Yeah.
One way is that our manager puts in those, and the other way is that they automatically populate from Hospitable if they have a public API.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, or they're able to reach into QuickBase somehow.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, so I'll circle around to say a couple of things. So just touching on one topic that you guys mentioned earlier, and that is kind of being in the weeds. You know, if you're a small business owner, it can be really easy, common, constant to be in the weeds of the business all the time. And sometimes it's hard to step out. Whether or not you're going to learn QuickBase or not.
I'm not.
Because, and you know, the truth is, like, even if you learn QuickBase to solve a particular problem, you may not be solving the right problem.
Yeah.
And you may not necessarily have an awareness of what QuickBase or whatever platform you're working in is capable of, or in terms of the problems that it's able to solve. Because sometimes it reveals other things just knowing what it can do, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So my encouragement would be get a whiteboard, get a piece of paper. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to put it in, you know, IODraw or Lucidchart or anything, any of the, Visio, anything like that to draw a complex workflow diagram, but start somewhere. Just make, draw it out in marker, in crayon, like whatever it takes, but force yourself to step out of the process a little bit so you can see the big picture.
That's good.
Because that's going to help you know all of the problems that you're trying to solve, not just the one that you're stuck on.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, part of that is also understanding the source of truth, if you will. And that's something that comes up in a lot of database design, especially when you have bridges to other systems where information is shared across platforms. You know, who is the master record keeper, if you will?
Constant, who's not changing.
Exactly. So who's the source of truth? Is it Hospitable or is it QuickBase? And a lot of times it doesn't matter necessarily, but you need to make a choice.
Yeah.
So that like, if all else fails, I go to Hospitable, and that is the source of truth.
Yes, Hospitable would be the source of truth, because a booking could cancel or whatever, and then QuickBase needs to look back into Hospitable to reach in and say, okay, cleaner Jenny, you had booked this one, it canceled.
Yep.
Would you like to book another one or something?
Yeah, exactly. And, typically when you get into situations like that, you'll start looking at the difference between pushing information out and pulling information in.
I'm learning something new.
Yeah,
I talk to this guy every day.
This is all great information.
And in that case, you'd want Hospitable to be reactive. And whenever something is changed, you're wanting to push out to QuickBase. And, without getting too into the weeds, you can build out, what could be referred to as a listener on the QuickBase side, where it's kind of waiting, it's checking in to see if there are any changes. It's polling Hospitable to see if there are any changes.
That's kind of like my wife, how she does with me. She's just always waiting for me to say something cool. And
totally.
What is the next awesome thing that's going to come out of your mouth?
Mine too.
I don't think anybody in my life was like that. Like,
Shane, say something.
What do you got for me next? Most of the time, I'm over in the corner talking to myself,
just mumbling.
Yeah, and then I get frustrated. I'm like, y'all never listen to me.
I'm the source of truth.
It's a new one. They're gonna be like, "What are you talking about, dude? Did Dad do something today? Is there drugs in his vehicle?"
But yeah, that is something to consider. Whether you have systems that talk to one another or you're having to do the double entry thing, you always want to start with your source of truth. It's just a lot less confusing, frankly. And then you can build into a workflow. Again, whether it's automated or not, you know where to start. And so it would always be, if you're training somebody up, start at Hospitable, look at the next 3 days, look at the next 5 days, whatever it is, always go back there before you're transferring information over, just in case something's changed.
You don't, if you're watching this and you're in short-term rentals, or you see some type of connection of something that you need to build that's specific for your business, you don't have to go learn QuickBase. There are people out there that can build these things for you, right?
100%.
And we could build them, Chris could build them, and just charge a monthly fee, based on the extent of how much work it's going to be and how much support you want.
100%.
Is that something you're interested in?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And
he loves doing that, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I love solving problems and being of service to folks. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So, and typically the way I'd want to approach something like that is to start, again, taking a step back and seeing what's your process, what's your workflow, where are your bottlenecks generally in your business, especially when it comes to like data integration and data flow. And then we can start talking solutions, and not only just solutions like, oh, I'm going to build you this thing and then I'm going to throw it in your lap and good luck.
Right.
But building things in a way that are usable and that you can train anyone in your business on, and that it's stable. I'll
speak to that, is that our 2 managers utilize this program daily. we haven't had any issues. That's awesome. Like it was super, super simple for them to pick it up and understand. Maybe we had like a 30-minute training call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was about right.
And then when it's time for me to go in and pull payroll, which we do every 2 weeks, I click 2 things and it says all the names and then what we owe them for total. And if I want to go in and see what those totals are allocated to, I can. If not, I don't have to. I can just pull the totals and pay people and move on. It's really, really, really simple.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like about QuickBase is that it can be, it's very approachable and it's very flexible. One of the things I like to say to Brandon in the other business, if you can dream it, we can do it.
Yep.
There are no unreasonable expectations, just unreasonable timelines.
Okay. How many times do you tell him that?
Well, maybe a few times.
We've gotten better at me knowing. He's like, yeah, we can do it, but how quick do you need that?
Yeah, when
done?
do you need that by?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite questions.
Yeah.
What's the priority?
The thing that really that jumped in my head is, and I've used this saying a lot lately, is so as a business owner, we're almost always in the jar of our business. If we think about our business as a jar, and we can't see the label because we're inside the jar, we can't read it. Really helps you do, or your person who's like Chris, if you're fortunate enough to find that. And I would encourage you to, if you feel like you can't get out of the weeds, to build optimization and automation. Because Chris helps you come outside the jar and go, okay, you're going to have to look at what you've created in that jar. Good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah.
And it might be ugly.
Yeah.
But you did it, and that's the best you knew how to do from this point right here. Now, how can we make you proud of what's in that jar so you can stay out of it and continue to improve what's in it instead of being in it? And then you start building from there once you're optimized, which is the thing Shane and I talk about all the time. Chris and I talk about all the time. Is like entrepreneurs have a very hard time slowing down enough to do the thing that matters the most first, because they're always creating the next thing instead of optimizing what they've already created.
We've done that with short-term rentals. It's been quantity over quality so far. Mm-hmm. That crap's about to change because I'm going to pull my hair out and have a mental breakdown. And then the next business that we jump into, I've owned several service businesses, and they're tough. If you don't put the right people in the right place and you don't have the right systems. The next one we jump into will be as automated, optimized, and have the right people before we go in. I promise you.
Yeah, and I think a key piece there that is important is it's not just the right person. This is a lesson we've had to learn over and over again. It's the right systems for the inevitability that there's going to need to be another person and another person and another person. You may get lucky and have that one that's around for 15 years and you're like, what a blessing. But the likelihood of that happening is like not likely. So how does the next person come in and go, this is built for Brandon Goswick. If he can do it, anybody can do it. Like, this is simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next person comes in. So Chris and I say the hit by the bus theory.
The bus test.
Yeah. And right now we have some things in all of our businesses where we go, if me or C-Dub or Shane gets hit by a bus, oh, poop.
There's going to be a lot of stuff for somebody to figure out.
Exactly. So I think it's a reminder as a business owner, ask who, not how. But I say this all the time. The reason Chris is sitting here is because his work has been the filter. And I'm copying that from somebody else we all know. And because it's been the filter, Chris has become partners with us on other deals. Mm-hmm. So he's actually here with us working on another company, but his work has been the filter and he's our who.
I can say a lot about that let the work be the filter thing, because I've let people have ownership in businesses that I've had thinking that will hold them when they didn't prove it first, when there was no filter. I just needed somebody that I thought was a great fit. Doesn't work out most of the time. That's such a mistake from small business owners is like everybody thinks like I do, just give them a percentage of the business and they'll work as hard as I do. That's not true. So be careful there and do let the work be the filter. You said something really smart earlier that I was really surprised because I haven't heard anything smart come from you in a while, Brandon.
I don't remember what it was.
Oh, and even after you said it, you're like, dang, that was smart. I just came up with that. Yeah, we said write that down.
No, I did say. I said something along the lines, y'all correct me if I'm off here. It's important that we never overreact from what people we don't know say before we get confirmation from people we do know.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But
no, but
I
it
thought
kind of
was
does
really
ask who, not how.
Yeah,
you know,
it does.
like we know Chris. We spent a lot of time fostering a relationship.
Okay, you're relating it back in. We have a problem. We can't solve it. We're overreacting based on other information we have from other people. And then we were like, oh, call Chris. What does he think? And he's like, oh, no big deal, guys.
Yeah, we got it.
I can fix it.
Well, I think part of that too is getting to the root of what you're trying to do. Like, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Again, kind of looping that back around. Instead of focusing on what you're doing, where do you want to be? Like, again, there's this kind of tendency to get into the weeds with things, and oftentimes it's referred to as gray work. Well, I had to build it this way because we needed it done.
Yeah.
And now it's worked, and we've done the same thing for 5 years. It's like, that's great. That's what you're doing. But what are you trying to accomplish? And by asking that question or questions around the various areas of your business, you're going to, I think, help bubble up different ways of optimizing and automating and outsourcing.
Chris and I had this conversation on the way here. It's important for a business owner. You should never stop learning and applying what you learn and refining who you become to become a better version. Because if you do stop learning, you will be that person that's like, well, this is what we've always done.
Yeah, 100%.
That's referred to as arrival syndrome. And that is the way that businesses die, fade off, disappear, or become unsuccessful.
And actually, that reminds me of something that I just learned the other day. I'll share it with your viewers, your audience here. A little bit of a challenge. So some of you out there may be watching this, or you watch YouTube videos and you take copious notes. You write everything down into a notebook. And something I heard the other day, which I've just started to implement myself, which has been an incredible tactical approach to incorporating things into your business. And that is, instead of writing it down in a notebook, get Post-it notes. Write one thing on a Post-it note and stick it somewhere you're going to see it. And you don't throw it away. You don't do anything with it until you've implemented it into your business.
Challenge.
And then you have an array of things that you can incorporate rather than sort of this blob of notes that you have to commit yourself to going back through and trying to glean insights from. You have something that's actionable, and you take that and then you can focus on the one thing. I'm going to take action on this one thing.
That's good.
It's a great book.
Everything in our life is flying at you at 1,000 miles an hour, and you try to take it all in and implement. If you're an entrepreneur, this is just how your brain's going to work. That's so good to say, okay, I watched a 10-minute video and there's a lot of good stuff in there, but this is the most important thing that stood out to me.
Yep, 100%.
And I'm going to implement.
I think there's a tendency too. I mean, we're talking about QuickBase and technology and how you can automate things and be more efficient with your time and that sort of thing. And I think there's an allure to trying to leverage technology wherever we can. I am as guilty of this as anybody. There's a device, an e-ink tablet called Remarkable that I really like.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had one.
Yeah. But I found that I'm using it less and less because while the technology is very cool, like the speed of access that I have to the information that I've been storing in it is very low.
Yeah.
Like it takes a while to dig through. I got to search. I mean, it's like trying to open up a computer and find a folder deep in the bowels of the device.
Yeah.
I'll switch back over to pen and paper, and it's just, it's more effective. I'm more effective at, getting into action around the things I need to get into action around, as opposed to focusing on the technology because it's cool. It was something to explore, but
the only gap that I find between pen and paper and the Remarkable e-device or some kind of, I'm using a program on an iPad right now for note taking called Good Notes. I prefer paper, just like you. The search functionality of the device is awesome. When can we have paper that has search functionality? That's where two worlds collide.
Call Elon. I'm sure he's working on it.
He's probably working on it.
What I just heard Chris say and Shane say is basically this. If I get better and better at understanding the value of optimizing or evaluating what I want to optimize, then I'm less likely to do something just because it's cool. Now, if I want to buy Remarkable just because I think it's cool, buy the Remarkable. But if the intention when buying the Remarkable is this is cool and it's going to allow me to accomplish this, which I know is my optimized priority to automate or outsource, whatever your business goal is, then you might be on to something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And figuring out where that rhythm works for you. You know, the functionality piece is huge, like the search piece.
Yeah.
You have to have that.
But getting it open and going to the folder or creating the note that I want to write it in so that it can be easily found later is, like you said, it's the accessibility level is low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's two things. One, it's being willing to continually reevaluate the way you're doing things and the tools that you're using. You know, getting settled and comfortable on something is easy. Having a willingness to try something new or to shift things slightly can sometimes be painful, but productive. And I do think that there's room for, you know, to steal something from Ari, that kind of external brain, having a place where we can dump information, be it our phones, a tablet, a Remarkable, Evernote, you said Good Notes, OneNote. There are so many different applications out there that are really good for being a repository for stuff you don't want to forget or you're collecting from a variety of sources. Where I think there's a good interface to the physical world is, you know, again, coming back to that Post-it notes of saying, okay, well, I've got all this information. Now I'm going to dedicate some time to sit down and sift through it and extract some actionable items from it and bring those into the physical world with me so that I'm held accountable for those few things. And then you've got a little bit of, you've got the external brain as a repository, and then you've got your action items, which are the kind of the written stuff.
That's good. Good stuff. We'll kill it there. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, Goswick Lane, when you're here, you're home. Love God, love others, and let your work reflect that. We'll catch you on the next one.